Hello everybody, welcome to TraderMerlin Show. Thursday afternoon, a fun, exciting day. I hope that you guys all had a chance to read my article that came out this morning. I was at 6 o'clock California time. So I usually issue the article about 30 minutes before the markets open, and I will paste it in a chat here. Of course, for anybody who might be watching the video, it's actually down below in the description. I also posted the article, but you know what? This encourages reading, so I'll post it right there for you guys to check out. And really, it's an overhead supply, the looming shadow over stock market indexes. You know, after that just tremendous rally that we've had over the past week, it's just kind of remarkable how much it's moved. And lo and behold, as we talked about in yesterday's show, everything coming right up in overhead supply. And today we saw some really nice moves out of it. Now, of course, there were two driving factors to that. Number one was this lovely gentleman over here, who I made a nice little picture of him just looking like a, I don't know, just an evil, mean person, which he is not. I'm sure he's just trying to do his dang job, but it's a tough job to do. And then his actions today had a pretty nice reaction, at least to our market behavior. And then, of course, the 30-year bond auction, which we'll take a peek at both of those right now. So I'm going to start things off with our top 8 markets. That way we can kind of see the impact and kind of reaction from the market. Now, in the article, I point out that out of the 3 indexes, the S&P, the NASDAQ, and the Russell, the Russell was clearly the weakest because it's already been selling off for 3 days as the other indexes are just coming into overhead supply. So here you had the Russell coming into overhead supply that goes back until October 17th. We hit that last Friday and then been selling off ever since. Today, the Russell down 1.49%. But the other ones, I think, are a little bit better because we were reacting to that overhead supply zone. As you can see, I drew out a yellow box at the top here. Let me get rid of this one. We got a yellow box at the top, which outlines your supply zone for supply in the NASDAQ 100. It was right in line with that downtrend line. We tiptoed above it today, and then as Jerome Powell started speaking, it just got weaker and weaker and weaker. Yeah, Pepe, I know you were probably short-term trading this, so hopefully you capitalize on some nice downside moves. Now the question is, do we get follow through? Is this that piece that's going to send this thing much lower from here? I don't know. I've got some short positions on right now, and hopefully we'll get a nice little follow through to the downside. And do we go all the way down to 14,200 on this one? I think we will, but over time. It's going to take weeks to get there. Not going to have the aggressive rally that we had to the downside here. Not going to see that one. I don't think so. So there's your NASDAQ 100 down 0.85% today. S&P also, similar picture. Right? I could draw a trend line right across these peaks, and you notice, let's just do it. I'm going to go right through the tails. All right, so we are still a ways away from it on the S&P 500. We're expecting that downtrend, but you did have a double top formation, at least on this rally back up. Tailed into it today, and then ending near the session lows, which is a pretty darn good sign to be in. So happy to see the S&P selling off as well, closing at 4,365. All right, here's where things got interesting. We've obviously seen the 10-year bonds sell off dramatically over the past couple of weeks. We were up right around 5%, and now we're at 4. We hit 4.5. Now we're at 4.63. Today's action, pretty good. I'll go from yesterday's close to where we are right now. You had a 2.96% gain in the yield on the 10-year today. Now, part of the reason, actually, yesterday's bond auction for the 10-year wasn't bad. It looked pretty decent. I'll bring up those numbers here for you in just one second. The bond auction that happened today, though, was a bit of a different story. Let me bring up my Forex Factor here. The 30-year had one of its worst performances in quite some time. So here is the table. You can see your 30-year bond auction right here, where it was 2.3, and then you had 4.8% yield. Came out at 4.77. But there's something called the tail, which I'll be honest, I'm not that familiar with. And I think that goes to this question here, and I think that this was from John. You said, can you break down into bonds for dummies language if you have time over the show? And it talked about the tail. I'll be honest, it's a little bit out of my comprehension, but I grabbed this from Yahoo, and they were talking about the tail, which is basically you take the 10-year median yield minus the high yield. And that will tell you how quickly these things are moving and how different they are than normal. So if we look at the 10-year median yield and subtract the high yield, you notice the low point here is down around negative 12. That's the lowest point we've seen in about the last 13, 14 years. Last time we saw that, U.S. debt was downgraded back here. All right, this is when U.S. debt was downgraded another time. So to me, paints a pretty ugly picture because we're starting to see these discrepancies in bond yields, which are creating, I guess, uncertainty and panic in the market. And the way that quote-unquote tail moved today for the 30-year has a lot of people going, uh-oh, this does not look good for the markets overall. And I think that this is predominantly the reason we saw these markets have some issue today. You put that together fast. I'm good like that, John. That's how I roll. But I love questions. Thank you for bringing it in. When you finish, sure, I'll look at NVIDIA in a little bit. Tom says, Powell did say one sentence that was timely, intelligent, and effect today, but he had a bit of a potty mouth. Oh, yeah. Come on, wasn't that funny? I don't know if you guys heard it, but and honestly, you can't see him say it in the video. You can just hear it. So, during his speech today, somebody barged in and started talking about, the environment and whatever, you're ruining this and that, carbon footprint, whatever she was yelling at. And so the camera cuts away and all you hear is, them trying to push her out, get her out of the room. And Jerome Powell just goes, close the effing door. It was a hot mic. I was like, right on. That was pretty funny. Close the freaking door. Anyway. So the picture, as we look at it, let's bring up more bond market info. That was the 10-year. Let's look at the 30-year yield, which also had a pretty big surge up. Now, look, even though the bond auction was not good today, really was not a great showing for the auction, it's still not that bad, to be honest. If you look at the overall trend, it's still going to the upside. Yes, we had a big pullback. Yes, we did break the most recent demand, which for anybody who knows core strategy and understands Online Trading Academy's methodology, you would say that the uptrend in this case has been broken. Well, I still think that there's upside potential, just maybe not at the same rate. I'm looking at this trend that goes all the way back into 2020, and to me, that hasn't bent yet on the big picture. If we show this on the weekly or monthly, it's going to be a little bit different story. But all in all, I do think that this 30 year is going to continue to rise. I think that 10 year is going to continue to rise. And we saw a little bit of a change in the yield curve where these things flip and you see the hopefully getting us back up towards zero. But today did not help that out very much. So that was my 10 year. Now let me go up, keep going up that ladder. I'll get through our top 8 here and then I'll go to another list of questions and see what other questions you guys have for me. Crude oil continued on down today. It was funny because at one point, crude oil was showing a nice green candle. I was like, man, I nailed that one. I really nailed that one with the XLE trade, but no, it just kind of gave it all back and closed near those session lows. So all in all, you had a 0.33% gain for crude oil, which is one of the few gainers out there. Gold and silver today, much better showings than yesterday, although silver gave most of it back near the end of the session. Gold was up 0.61%, closing still south of 2,000. We're at 1969. It was a good year. I remember it well. Summer of love. Dollar index, not helping either, right? Dollar index is up 0.35%. Again, higher that goes, the more likely it's going to put pressure on the equity markets to the downside. And then our big leader here was Bitcoin. But look at the tail on this Bitcoin. Bitcoin futures at one point hit 38,380. That was a gigantic jump today. It gave back a lot of it, but still holding on. That futures market is paused right now. So let me go and show you what the spot market is doing for Bitcoin, because I know I got some Bitcoin fans here. We are still at 36,641, up 2.81%. But there were some pretty significant gainers in the crypto space. I was really happy to see Storage. Right, Storage is this decentralized storage company, which I purchased some tokens of a while back, up 40% yesterday and up another 13% today. Great. Chris says crude oil at 70. I'm not sure if I would say 70, but let's look at crude oil's chart and see, where was it likely to go? Well, if it does continue this downtrend, which I feel like it's going to be a head fake, it's going to just kind of get people into it. I think you got 74 mark, which is really this turning point that goes back to July 17th and 18th. I think that's your most logical point. After that, I'll just bring a line down. Where's your next logical stopping point? I guess you could say maybe 70, but to me, it's going to be back down around these lows, right around $67, which is kind of where we bounced off of for quite some time going into middle of this year. So all in all, I'm liking the chart here. it's giving me an opportunity to buy some oil or oil-related companies at lower prices. I don't think it's going to be just trending straight down and continue on here. I think that at some point it's going to slow down and rally back up. But hey, right now I'm catching a falling knife with my XLE trade, and all in all, I think I will be fine in the long term. Yeah, Big Epps is liking ETH today. Absolutely. The news there, for those who may not be in the crypto world, was BlackRock filed a legal entity in Delaware for a iShares spot Bitcoin or a spot Ethereum ETF. So they're really pushing, like Grayscale is. Grayscale already has a Ethereum trust, but they're one of the big first major names to have an Ethereum spot Bitcoin ETF application. So BlackRock is not wasting any time. My guess is they're going to start to do it with a couple of the big names as well. But the top two in the crypto world, Bitcoin and Ethereum, everyone focusing on Bitcoin and trying to get that one approved. I think BlackRock's already lining up the ducks and saying, when that one falls, we're pushing for Ethereum. And you saw a giant move today in Ethereum. Let's bring that one up there. Loving this one, as it is my second largest holding in my portfolio. So I was like, hallelujah. Thank you. Keep it coming. Here is ETH. 10.22% today, and looking at the gains just for the past, let's say, month, going back to these October 12th lows, you're looking at a 37% gain for Ethereum in just 28 trading sessions. So all in all, been very, very nice. Very happy with those results, and let's keep it going. Again, I think it highlights what I mentioned a while back, which is this is different than the .com because the retail ones that started all crypto. And now institutions are trying to get in the game, and that demand for a finite resource here, a finite crypto like Ethereum or Bitcoin, is just driving prices much higher and higher and higher. So yeah, love it. What's the difference between spot Bitcoin ETF and Bitcoin futures? When we buy Bitcoin at Coinbase, which one are we buying? So the difference between spot Bitcoin and Bitcoin futures is a huge difference. Bitcoin futures it's just a representation. So that futures says the value of this contract is worth, I think it's 5 Bitcoin. That's the value of that contract. But it's not backed by anything. It doesn't own anything. It's not deliverable. So when you hold that contract to expiration, if it's in the money, they don't deliver you Bitcoin. It's cash settled. So there's nobody buying physical Bitcoin in the back end. You could have every person in the world buy a Bitcoin future, but it doesn't impact the price of Bitcoin, right? It's just speculation about where prices may go. With a spot Bitcoin ETF, every time someone buys shares or buys into that fund, they have to buy more Bitcoin to back it up. So let's say, just an example, everybody has to buy 1 Bitcoin at a time, right? And my fund has 10 Bitcoin in it. That means I have 10 holders right now. But if 100 people want to buy in and they're going to buy a whole Bitcoin, I now have to buy 100 more Bitcoin. So I have to physically go out and get it from the marketplace. And my article that I wrote for Bar Chart back in April says, well, where are you going to get it? You can't just go to the SEC. You can't go to the NASDAQ and say, well, I'll just buy a whole bunch of Bitcoin. You can't do that. You have to find a place to buy it. And because it works so differently, because it's decentralized, they're going to have to go to the exchanges maybe to get it from there. They're going to have to go to the open market, which is what I hope happens because that's going to drive prices through the roof. Or they'll have to do something like what I think is going to happen, which is go to the mining companies, buy theirs or borrow theirs, and pay them interest so they can get all the Bitcoin that they need. That's the tough part. Hey, Chris, good to see you. So to me, and Bitcoin is very scarce right now. Yes, I know exactly. It's scarce right now. I like the way you question that because it's a statement and a question. It's almost like, and it's scarce right now. You wait later on. Once people start accepting Bitcoin and it becomes more mainstream, so the floodgates open, in my opinion, by having a spot Bitcoin ETF, because now that opens every investor in the United States up to a safe, easy way to buy Bitcoin. And every time they buy that spot Bitcoin ETF, BlackRock or Fidelity or Janus or ARK is going to have to buy more Bitcoin. And you got to buy it somewhere. And you know what? I've got a bunch on this drive right here, but you're not buying it. BlackRock's not buying it. If this gets to $1 million of Bitcoin, I'll probably sell it. At least sell some of it. Scale out, right? But I'm not selling it right now. Absolutely not. I know I have something scarce that is now becoming and starting to become in demand, right? And at some point, it should be really in demand, especially if it becomes a payment network that's kind of accepted in other countries around the world, like El Salvador. So, yeah, Yeah, I think you think it's scarce now. You wait till further down the road. It'll become much more scarce because it's going to be much more distributed around the world. And that's one of the main reasons I've been a big fan of it. Really what it brings to the people, what it means is why I'm a fan of it. So let me go and show you a couple of things here that we should have looked at when we got on our discussion about interest rates. So bear with me. You might recall from last week's Jerome Powell decision, that's really was the catalyst that started this huge rally, right? The belief was, we have paused. We have paused. Well, his comments today kind of insinuated, well, we're not saying we're done. It's just we're holding, and we might see more increases in the future. And I think that's part of the reason we saw the markets freak out. Certainly was the bond yield, certainly was the overhead supply zone, and then you add that to Jerome Powell's comments, which were hilarious. But here is your expectations for the December 13th FOMC meeting. Notice it's still 85% chance they're going to keep rates right where they are at. However, you notice in the last 24 hours, it went from 9.6% up to a 14.6% chance that we're going to see a rate increase. So that little bit right there had traders on edge thinking, uh-oh, what if we get a 25 basis point increase? And that's part of the reason we saw this market sell off. The question is, does it continue? So yes, Lori, if you look at a couple different things here. When you look at the price of Apple, it doesn't matter where you look because every exchange has the same price because, the NASDAQ, where Apple's traded, is centralized. It's going to be the same price everywhere. So you never have to worry about where you're getting your data from. Let me show you real quick. If you want to know which exchange to get your quote from, so you're asking about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the most liquid, so you're pretty much fine getting your quote from just about any marketplace. But let's say, for example, you guys type in a cryptocurrency that's not one of the mainstream ones, something that's a little bit different and maybe less known. You go ahead and type in one there, and I'll show you something here kind of cool, just as a little crypto learning lesson. I know it takes some time. So if you go to why Bitcoin is limited, can't remember, it's in the code. So the way that it works, it's simple math. There is one Bitcoin created, there's 6.25 Bitcoin that are created within the code every 10 minutes. In the early days, it was 50 Bitcoin were created every 10 minutes. Every 210,000 blocks that are created, that means 210,000 10-minute windows of time, it gets cut in half. So it went from 50 to 25 to 15, it went from 50 to 25 to 12 and a half to 6 and a quarter. And then next year, it's going to get cut in half again, which means that every 10 minutes, 3.125 Bitcoins are going to pop up. All right, let's look at DOT. You were the first one in there, Lori. So you come over here to something like CoinMarketCap. And for anybody who's in crypto, this is really important. So, you might go out to Coinbase and say, well, I'll just use Coinbase's chart. Well, let's look at DOT. So there's Polkadot. If you click on, you type in your symbol, this is CoinMarketCap. Again, I don't get any sponsorships, don't worry about that. But if you click on markets, it'll show you right away where's the most liquid one. So you can see that Binance is doing the most volume, $59 million traded in the last 24 hours. Coinbase is actually not bad. It's definitely a fairly liquid marketplace. And most of these are pretty good. So when I go out here to TradingView and I go to, add in, let's say Polkadot, it's going to be DOT USD. And I click on crypto. You notice there's a whole bunch. These are all, you're like, wait, they're all the same. Notice the exchanges over here. There's Binance, Kraken, some of these, I don't even know the names of them. So what you would do is go here and click on Binance because Binance is the most liquid one. Therefore, this would be the most current, most accurate price for Polkadot because it's from the most liquid exchange out there. Let's go to one Floki, Eric. All right, so we could let's do Aave, right? So Aave is one that's not as liquid. So, it's important because it may not be the most liquid on the exchange you're looking at. And so I'll go here and go to Aave. And this is just one of those subtle differences between cryptocurrencies and, typical equity markets. So here's Aave, which is a lending protocol. Click on markets, and you can see here Binance is by far the largest. So Binance is typically going to be the largest for most cryptocurrencies out there. I have found a couple of times where it's not. So again, same situation. If I'm going to pull up the chart for Aave and look at Aave against the US dollar, you can see all sorts of different ones. I probably don't want to use crypto. I just don't know. They're not that liquid. So I may go over here and go to Binance because Binance is the biggest one. All right, now just for fun, because Eric is here and he's got his name spelled the right way, you look at Floki, which is garbage. This is trash. I hate this coin. It pisses me off that it even exists because Dogecoin, just so you guys know, Dogecoin started as a joke. Look at the history of Dogecoin. It started as a joke. It wasn't meant to be anything. It was just a joke. The icon is a dog that is a Shiba Inu dog named Doge. So somebody copied that and made Shiba Inu. Well, Elon Musk got a Shiba Inu that he named Floki. So now someone made the Floki coin, which is a Shiba Inu dog of a Shiba Inu of Dogecoin. It's ridiculous, the garbage that people buy. Anyway, here's Floki. Look how many there are. This is just ridiculous. So this is hundreds, thousands, millions, billions. There's 9.5 trillion of these things. Oh, well, it's going to get to $1. No, it's not. It doesn't do anything. As we go to markets. If you're dumb enough to trade this one, clearly there's only one stop that you should go to. Only one exchange that you would even consider trading this one on. Look at it. Would you do it at KuCoin right here? $19,000 worth traded? Forget it. You wouldn't touch it. I'd only go to Binance. That's where the big volume is at, 24 million. So again, always check your coins to see what's traded on which exchanges and which one has the most liquidity. You might find that all of a sudden you're trading on KuCoin and you trade a little bit, you trade $5,000 worth, and all of a sudden you move the market 10%. You're like, how'd that happen? Because you're in a marketplace that has no liquidity. Right? When you send your orders through on Ameritrade or E-Trade or Schwab to buy 100 shares of Apple, you're getting everyone's collective liquidity. And there's rules that will not prevent, but there's rules that don't allow the market to go around the national best bid and offer. So you're going to get the best price. With crypto, it does not work that way. You notice, let me go out to Bitcoin here real quick, just so you guys can see this one. So here's Bitcoin. Now, we're fortunate today because most of these markets are very competitive and there's electronic arbitrage systems out there that close these spreads. But notice the price of Bitcoin, right? It differs, 20, 30, 40, maybe $50 depending on which exchange that you're on. So it used to be thousands of dollars difference. It was crazy back in the day, man. It really was an awesome experience. Merlin's favorite coin, Pepe coin. Yeah, right. Yeah, that one. Actually, I respect Pepe coin because it literally says on their website, I've shown this to you, that this serves no purpose. This has no value whatsoever. It's meaningless. I'm like, at least you put it right there for people to read it. I did a class this morning on cryptocurrency, and there's 1.8 million cryptocurrency projects out there. Blows my mind. Actually, now there's over 2 million. Wow. Where am I finding that information, you're asking? Well, if you go to coinmarketcap.com, up in the upper left, it says cryptos 2 million. Now, this includes just random tokens that people make, like mine, right? I've made several cryptocurrencies just to learn how this works and how easy it is or how difficult it is. What are the challenges? Yeah, I've got quite a few of them. So there you go. A couple little cryptocurrency pieces for you. Did I have any other comments? No, we did not. All right, what else did I have for you guys today? If you have any other questions, go ahead and type money and I'll go down whatever rabbit hole you want to, but I don't have a lot to talk about today. So Pepe, you asked why it's limited. That's why. It's in the code. Every 210,000 blocks, the reward gets cut in half, which makes it more scarce. So starting next year, the creation of Bitcoin gets cut in half again, and all of a sudden, fewer and fewer Bitcoin will come into existence. So as long as demand outpaces that supply creation, Bitcoin's going to go much, much, much higher. I think that's what we got. What do you think about the Bitcoin Ethereum relationship? I'll be honest, I don't even think about it. I really don't. I don't think about it at all. People are like, oh, well, if you price Bitcoin in Ethereum or Ethereum in Bitcoin, I don't care. They're two separate things, right? Bitcoin is a unit of account monetary. It's digital money. It's a banking system. Ethereum is a giant decentralized computer that you can build programs on. You can write programs. You can start your own businesses on those and create tokens and issue. Totally different ballgame, in my opinion. So I don't, apples to oranges, man. Completely different things. I own both. I think they're both great. I think Ethereum and Bitcoin will both do very well. I'm a huge fan of Ethereum. I think Vitalik Buterin should get a lot more attention for doing what he's done. This guy is just such an odd, crazy, weird dude. But the brilliance of what he's come up with, I think, has the power to change lives for the better around the world. And to me, that's the good part. There we go. So, Dave, you wanted NVIDIA. Let me check out NVIDIA. Oh, NVIDIA. So, well, that's long gone, isn't it? Just take all of that off of there. Okay, got rid of all the artwork I had on that one. I'll delete it later. I'll be honest, right now, it actually looks like it's about to reverse. Doesn't it? I mean, you've got this just sideways chop. It looked like a head and shoulders to me. We actually started to break down, and then it just screamed back up as everything did in the marketplace. Now, are we past the overhead supply that goes back into October 12th? Yes, we are, but we didn't close above it. Right? We are right in it. So for me, if I'm looking at this, this is a giant shooting star in essence. So the way I would look at this, if you're trading NVIDIA, at least for the short term, I'd put a line right across that bottom there, which is going to be at 467.50. If it opens up above that tomorrow and then closes down below 467.50, I think you have a good shorting opportunity here in NVIDIA. But that assumes, and we know what assuming does, makes an ass out of you and me. That assumes that we're going to continue to see sell-off in our overall equity markets. Now, if I look at these markets, I am of the belief personally that we are going to see continued momentum, right? We just started getting that momentum moving. I think today the headlines will read a little bit more negative and pessimistic. People lock in some profits. I think you will see some downside. However, where's that going to go to, right? Where is that going to go to? You look at this, I don't see any real strong demand zones on that daily time frame other than the origin of this move, which is 14,200. Trust me, it's not falling 1,000 points in the next day. I mean, it could, but I highly doubt it. So I'd have to go and look at maybe smaller time frames. Let's go into a 4-hour time frame to see, are there areas in here where I'm going to be attracted to? And absolutely, there's some levels that jump off the screen for me right now. Going to be this bad boy right here at almost 15,000. It's 14,965. You also have a little area of consolidation that could be the next logical stopping point, which is right around 15,200. So those are the levels I'm looking at. Let me get rid of this thread line here. When I go back to the daily, now I can start to build out a trade plan for those. And again, if it gets below that 15,200 mark, I think you're adding to your short position and seeing that thing just go. Big M says year-end rally in progress. Could be. I just don't see it, but it could be. We'd have to close above these current pivot yellow boxes I have on your screen. When we start closing above those, then I'll be much more inclined to think that the trend is reversed, and now we're going to be looking for things to the upside. So that's I don't see how you get the expanded screen for crypto. My trading view only shows the initial list. What do you mean? You mean how I created all these watch lists over here on the right-hand side? Is that what you're asking about me, Michael? Watches on the right side, I just, click this little plus button and just add in whatever I want, and then I modify my watch list. So that's how I create them. Eric wants to know about that Aussie dollar. Let's go check out the Aussie, mate. There you go. Not looking very good, mate. It's gone a bit of a sell-off here. A fair dinkum here. Oh, boy. I lived in Australia for a while. Oh, man, that was an experience. I did foreign exchange when I was 17 years old, and I did foreign exchange to Australia. I was supposed to go for a year, but I ended up doing 8 weeks. And, when you go to these countries, you're all excited about where you're going to stay. I was like, I'm going to be in Sydney. I'm going to be in Brisbane. I'm going to be with some cool family. I'm going to be surfing every day. It's going to be so much fun. They stuck me with the family in the sticks, man. I lived in a town called Toowoomba. And Toowoomba, interesting place. Luckily, the family that I stayed with was very cool, but they were farmers. And they lived out, they had a place, I cannot remember the name of that town. It was Toowoomba and then Inverness or Inderwild or something like that. They had 20,000 acres and 10,000 sheep. So we would go out there on the weekends and shear sheep and to live like Australians. And I love how Americans think that all rats are all kangaroos are adorable and cute and cuddly. You have no idea. It's an infestation of rodents. Like you think that New York has rats, Australia has kangaroos. On the farms, these guys are 8 feet tall. 8 feet tall and can kick down fences with one kick. I mean, they're jacked. I don't know if you guys have ever seen pictures of it called a big red. These big red kangaroos look like people who've been working out in the gym all their lives, just stacked. Man, crazy. Anyway, I don't know why I got on that tangent, but Australia, love it. I'll go back someday. It'd be awesome. All right, as far as Australian dollar, what are we talking about here? Well, you had that nice pop up, and I was actually getting pretty excited because it felt like, hey, we might be seeing this downtrend reverse, at least the downtrend that we've seen in place for the better part of a year now, going back to March of 2021, almost 2 years. Pretty ugly downslide. And I thought that this most recent move up until last week was starting to look good, right? We came right into overhead supply. If we broke that, you guys know my rules. If we break this previous high, which is this line right here, you can see where these tails have hit it multiple times right there. We came up to it and literally to the T hit it and then sold off. So until it gets above that 65.22 mark, not worried about it. Not worried about it at all. I think actually the trend's most likely to continue to the downside here. I do think the strength is going to come back into the US dollar. So there you go. What I see here about Mr. Dunn, rest in peace. After seeing the Nvidia candle, I can hear Bob Dunn saying, if the price gets offered below the previous candle low, get short with the tight stop or ride the wave. Yep, absolutely. It's funny because I've had that attitude and style before I ever met Bob Dunn, but he's one that he made his whole living doing that. Oh, thanks, John. Not to watch, it's the list where the dollar values of the markets were listed, so you know where's the most liquid. Oh, so I don't have that. You mean if you go over here and you just start typing in a symbol? Oops, sorry. If you go into TradingView and you just go into where you have the most the symbol, you would go to, let's say, BTC USD. Now this doesn't have the volume on it, and it's not going to show you here. I went out to a different site to find out which exchange has the most volume. And to be honest, with crypto, 90% of the time, Binance is going to be your most liquid marketplace for cryptos. Typically, that's where I've seen most liquidity. All right, what else do I got here? Oh, Dave, that's cold-blooded right there. Hey, I'm average height. I'm average height, right? I'm 5'8". Jerk. Everything's tall to me. Hey, until you've seen these bad boys, and, you know, I don't know if you guys have ever seen what I'm talking about, but let me see if I can find one for you real quick. Just I know some of you may have never seen it, but these guys are big.
It's the big day.
Oh, hold on a second.
Roger.
Trying to. And that was like a 6-footer.
Roger, and visitors.
But there's a great video of a guy. His dog is being attacked by the kangaroo. I don't know if you guys have seen this one. And he runs out there, and this guy, he blasts this kangaroo with a right hook. It was crazy. Why is everyone picking on my height today? When did this happen? I didn't realize this was going to be a thing on here. Let me see. Guy fights kangaroo. I'll tell you what, I sure as heck wouldn't have done it. I would not have gotten close to this thing. Here's another one. Look at this beast. This is the kangaroo that's fighting his dog. I know it looks like he's doing something else, but he's fighting this dog. This is like a 6-7 footer. Anyway, I'll stop because I could go down this rabbit hole. I think it's hilarious on how big they are, and you don't realize it because you have the tiny little ones, but when you see the big reds, it's like, oh my god, that thing is huge. Anyway, so I did the Australian dollar one. I did the Nvidia chart. There was another chart I think you guys wanted to see. What was that? I think I mentioned silver. So, you know, obviously today was great at one point for silver, but then gave back almost all those gains. It was tough. Yeah, it's Randy Newman, I think. Short people got no reason to live. I was almost stamped by them when I went to Australia. Crazy, yeah. They're cool, man, but everyone thinks they're so cute. Oh, they're so friendly. They're so cute. I'm like, I actually got to shoot them on the ranch. We had to. Yeah, wrong video. It was the right video. It's just funny. It looks odd. So with regards to my position on silver, I still have my calls at 22.50. I doubt I'll be getting my shares taken away from me. The XLE trade we're in today, or in yesterday, ended slightly lower. It's a bummer because it was actually looking nice today. It was a big green candle for XLE, so unfortunately, that one drifting a little bit lower, but I'm not too worried about it. I actually think we're going to stall when we get to this upward trending line I have drawn on your screen, but we'll see how that one holds. A couple of things I am interested in. I was looking at utilities again. Utilities has had a 5-day slide that's been just savage. So I'm long-term bullish on utilities. It's a question of where do I find that buy point? Now, back here in September, when this thing was in free fall, I was looking to buy at 54 bucks, and I sold my put options at that, collected some great premium because people were panicking, and it's bounced up since then. I'm kind of bummed. I wish I actually got to actually physically buy my XLU because I still think I'm okay holding that one long term. The other thing I've been thinking about is I'm thinking about writing an article on airline stocks. So you guys, here's American Airlines. Just to put the misery in perspective, I'll make this a weekly time frame. Going back to our peak, let's say in 2017. So American's been in pain for a long time. Let's go DAL, Delta Airlines. You know, look at that. This sell-off right here that started in June is just absolutely incredible. And I know that we've seen fuel costs surge, but this is just crazy. It went from $50 down to 30 bucks. And I think that there is, that's right, Big Gab. I know utilities hate high interest rates. That's why I'm kind of like, I'm waiting for it to get lower. But, you know, you look at what's gone on with airlines, at some point this will become a value play again. And I don't know. I'm looking at this chart going, well, maybe, you know, it's almost back to near those lows. Okay, it's still got a way to go. 30% drop from here would bring it down to the COVID lows. But remember, these planes weren't flying. They weren't flying at all. And now they're flying and they're packed. And profit margins are dropping. Obviously, fuel costs are a major factor. But yeah, let's look at Spirit Airlines. Don't ever ride on that horrible airline. This is one I wouldn't buy. They're already at their lows from 2000 or from 2020. So not that one. How about Love? Southwest Airlines, right? Southwest Airlines, probably one of the best airlines. I love Southwest. Weird boarding process, but all in all, I'm okay with airlines. Do that, airlines. I keep looking at them. Yeah, I have been, you know, very close to pulling the trigger and going long on Southwest in a longer term account I have, which is not talking, you know, days or weeks or swing trades. It's like that's long term stuff, and I have some free capital right now, and I've been debating going and buying Southwest Airlines. You notice where we're at. I mean, we've actually gone below those pivot lows from 2020. Now, they've had a lot of issues, but I still think that Southwest Airlines is a pretty darn good company. Yeah, what's their... Let me go here. Go to Alaska. Okay. Alaska, same picture, right? Just in the past couple of months, it's gone from 57 bucks down to $31. So there's a lot of opportunity. Yeah, Jets is the ETF for it. So if you didn't want to buy one, you could just buy. If you want to buy a basket, you could just buy Jets, which is probably the safer way to go. I'll be honest, John. Yeah, we got to talk good about Alaska Airlines with John around. So once John leaves the room, we can start slamming on that one, but it's fine. With the way airlines treat their customers to take advantage of the ridiculous fees, imagine doing them. Yeah, I don't have sympathy for them either. And again, I don't really care. I'm just looking at, is there opportunity here to make some money, right? That's really the only reason I'm looking at them. Not Bob with the triple B. It says, I like love at 14.24. LUV. Oh yeah, well that's days away. I mean, 14 bucks. You're talking this area. We have this little rally-based rally. It goes all the way back to 2013. I don't know. I don't think you're going to get there. I'll be honest. I just Southwest is just too good. There's demand for air travel. You know, I don't see it getting that low. But I've been wrong before. So you know, one of the things I was reading, and maybe you can help out with this one a little bit, John, is one of the reasons I was scratching my head. It's like, why are they falling so much? And of course, energy costs are the number one driver of that. Another article I was reading was talking about how they just don't have staff. They don't have enough people to staff the flights adequately. And I don't know how true that is. And you let me know, John, is that true at all? That there's that they're not flying as many flights because they just can't find good help? That may be an issue. Obviously, you want to have as many planes going, especially if you have demand going for it. That's more profit for you. But fuel costs certainly going to be a major factor in this, and hopefully they're doing the right thing, which is using futures contracts to hedge their energy consumption on those planes and hopefully keep their costs down, like Southwest did back years ago, and all the other airlines were tanking. Oh, so it is true, huh? All right. Well, maybe they start offering some nice salaries for stewardesses and stewards, or airline attendants, what do I call them, right? Getting better, good. And then I think that might mean more flights, more opportunity, and more revenue coming in. So I'll let you know on this one. I'm I'm bringing myself closer and closer to buying some Southwest Airlines, just because I've always been a fan of Southwest. I like the culture, even though I don't work for them. But you do about a 50% hedge. Well, it's better than zero, But now that you have energy doing this, it's actually hurting you guys. When energy rolls over like this, if they're locking in their fuel costs, and now fuel costs are so much lower, you're losing on those futures. So it's a bit of a gamble. It's a tough one to master. But man, this weekly chart of crude oil looks just savage, brutal. Tom says 35 years ago it was $300 round trip LAX to Detroit. Now the price is about $330. Yeah, everyone's got to raise their prices. Yeah, that is an interesting one. I just got tickets to Hawaii. I'm going to be going to Hawaii the week after Thanksgiving, so I will not be doing a show that week. And yeah, the ticket's like $300 round trip to Hawaii. Bring it on. That's awesome. The hotels where they get you. Hotels are certainly raising their prices. Man, $300, $400, $500 a night for a hotel. Shocking. I did good on NEE. Next Era Energy. Well, I'm glad you did okay. After it broke down below this horizontal line I'm going to draw on your screen here, this thing just fell apart. I went from, $70, now hitting lows of sub 47. Great. The question is now, where do you play it? Do you think this thing's going to bounce? Absolutely, Big Eb. It says hedging jet fuel is an art. Absolutely. And, it's probably one of the most significant and important positions in the company is whoever's being their energy trader to trying to lock in price of fuel for these planes. I'll be honest, Next Air Energy doesn't excite me on the weekly. If I go here on the daily, not really that big of a fan of it. I might be interested if it gets back down to this 51.25 mark and kind of closes that gap. But all in all, that trend is still pretty aggressive to the downside, and we are seeing energy overall under a lot of pressure right now. Hotel workers on strike in Vegas, where they make more money as strippers. Is that what's going on? What else do I have here? What I've been seeing with these companies is using AI for hiring. They will never have enough employees. There are many flaws using AI when it comes to employees. Oh, I totally agree. Again, going back to Elon Musk's comments that World War III will start because of artificial intelligence. And, that I think he's right, because governments will use AI to create propaganda and to create hostility between countries and tensions. If you don't have an enemy, then you don't need a military. If you don't need a military, then, you lose your power. Having the military is what gives countries their power. And we have the greatest military in the world. A lot of money funding that. So, yeah. What else we got here? I was going down a tangent on that one, but I'll stop. Oh, by the way, and again, I'm not saying Republican or Democrat for the debates, but did you guys see some of the debate highlights last night? That guy Vivek was just going absolutely crazy last night. I had to take my hat off to him. He was saying some seriously damaging things to the Republican Party, in particular the people on stage, and man, they couldn't even argue it. These people just had to stand there and take it because they knew they were accepting all these donations and contributions. They're multimillionaires because they've been given bribes by all these lobbyists, and boy, he was just lambasting them. It was so much fun. So much fun to watch. Merlin, bring your notepad to Hawaii. Hopefully you will get inspired and finish your book. It's in here. I've been typing it out. It's just I spend so much time rewriting. I'm a perfectionist. It drives me nuts. Merle on the 6AZ33. What do you think of the? Well, I don't have that futures on this platform. I can just go. I usually just do continuous contract. So it's not going to help me too much. Oh yeah, that Cheney and 3-inch heels. That was hilarious. I agree with you, John. And again, I'm not siding with either side of it, but his comments were brutal. But they were absolutely true. When he started going after the host, I thought, this is great. This is really good. I just watched the highlights just because I don't like watching presidential debates. I find it frustrating, and they just stand there and shout and yell at each other all the time, and that just drives me nuts. So here at 63.76 is your... Yeah, it's going to look a little bit different here on this bad boy just because I don't have the actual current contract on here. I could bring it up, but it takes me too much time. Let's go coordinates and go 0.6376 is what you want on that one. There's that. And then your second level is going to be 0.63480. So you're going on a pretty short time frame. Oh, no, 0, 0, 0, 0. You're going on a pretty short time frame. Let's go down here, and that's on your daily. I'm going to stripe this into an hourly time frame. So I'm sure it's going to look different. If I'm going to be doing this on a short-term time frame like this, I'm really eyeballing the origin of this move, which means I'm back down into here. Even smaller. We're not quite there yet. And again, this will help me reduce risk exposure because you notice that the zone that you had, it just shrunk down significantly. It's harder, so I'm risking less because the demand zone's smaller. But I'm also increasing my chances of not getting into the trade because it has to go further down to get in that zone. Vic was rhino hunting. Best debate comment since Tulsi focused on. I thought it was some of the best comments that I've ever seen in a presidential debate. They were savage, but it wasn't misinformation. You know, when I watch some other presidents or candidates over the years, they're just spewing misinformation. And you're like, God, you're trying to cover their lies with your own lies. And it's like, what's the truth? Vivek was spot on with his facts about lobbyists and the party in dismay, and just it was great. It was so good. You took an eat dinner. All right, I'm going to wrap it up before I start making this a political show, which I do not want to do. Let's talk about what's happening out there for tomorrow. It is Friday, which means whiskey time for me. What do we got cooking for the weekend? Well, here is your economic calendar for Friday. There's not much going on. You have a couple things happening for the U.S., predominantly the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Reports, and that's pretty much it. You have Christine Lagarde will be speaking tomorrow, but that's going to be at 4:30 in the morning Pacific time, so it's 2 hours before our markets open. That may create some waves, particularly for those of you who are trading that euro dollar, which I meant to bring this up, has come crashing back down into the low of the range. You're right back down into the low, at least on the hourly time frame. Let's go back to our daily. Right there. All right. You're still in an uptrend. You've pulled right back into those lows you established yesterday and day before. Would I take the trade at this level? I actually would. If we break down below that 106.59 mark, call it 106.50 mark, then I would dump this one. But I actually like the way it's had a big rally up, a little bit of a flag pullback. It's risk going into a Lagarde statement, though. I think you all know that. That can be very, very volatile based on what she says. Do I know of any hotel ETFs? I do not. I don't know of any hotel. I know there are some. There has to be. But off the top of my head, I don't know. I'll find one for you, Robert, and I'll bring it up on tomorrow's show. It's amazing that they have the guy on CNN fact-checking the comments of these politicians after debates. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm waiting for an AI robot to ask questions. So, because you can see sometimes, and it's same for the Republicans, same for Democrats, the moderator will ask biased questions and clearly try to sway the discussion for their interest, not necessarily what you and I want to be hearing. Gotta love the politics. All right, that'll do it for me. Earnings calendar-wise for tomorrow, you really got nothing going on. I went to the economic calendar, and you guys have an ad starting in 8 seconds, so I'm going to wrap up. If you guys have comments, questions, feedback, TraderMerlin@gmail.com or put it down below any of the YouTube videos. I'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Take care.